Hiya Dan, all right, thanks for the chat. I really appreciate this because I do believe that it's time to put the record straight as much as I possibly can. I want to go back to the beginning of the situation that started with Eddie is okay, which then progressed on to Andy Devine and so on and so on and so on. So I want to go back and I want to explain now some of the things which I'm not going to name the person because I don't want that person to be targeted, but you've had conversations and I know you can confirm some of these parts. Where they're going to fall short, okay?
Yeah,
so
no problem.
Let's just start. So I am Joe. I am Team Pandora's Box, which was Gordon Bowden, God rest his soul, my hero. I got in contact with Gordon because I'd done some research into somebody with relation to a child support agency investigation. Anyway, I was told to make contact with Pete Bromfield, and then Pete put me in contact with Gordon, sent my paperwork to Gordon, and he could see that the evidence that I'd supplied him were company links, etc., etc., which actually led back into Finchley Road. Gordon then, bless him, put me under his wing and tried to show me the bigger picture, which was painstaking. It was very massive spider's web, and it all revolves around the address in Finchley Road. So initially, I made contact with Eddie is okay in the summer of 2018 because we wanted to pass some information across to Brian Harvey, and I made contact with Eddie. I met him in a Sainsbury's car park, had a phone call between him and Gordon, and things went from there. Now, from that point on, I can tell you that point, it was a difficult conversation because it was a hot sunny day, the window was down, but the noise of the dual carriageway in front was a bit poor, and I had to close the car windows. Let's just say I wish I had some chewing gum with me that day because the halitosis was rank. Again, Eddie's tried to say that I've potentially tried to make a move on him, which is not true, it's not correct. First impressions always count, and that was my first impression. Anyway, we'll move on from there. Eddie, I stayed friendly with, and he introduced me to a Skype group with various people, including himself, Andy, and Jesus. And they wanted me to do some research into some companies on Finchley Road. Initially, I was interested because Finchley Road was my forte, it was what we were all trying to expose, and I was happy to help. When I could see that it was going into a route that I didn't want to be involved in, which is revolving around the Hampstead case, I sort of sat back a bit. And one day, one of the other people within the group, a lady, which I won't name, came to me and suggested that Eddie was some form FBI. And I put the message out saying this, and I took the blame for it. Now, a third party, again, Danny, you've had this conversation with the third party, you know that what I'm saying is correct.
Yeah, I was there when she said it, yeah.
It wasn't me that suggested this, and therefore, I don't accept the blame for that. But hey, that's fine, absolutely. I guess at this point I was obviously their sticky wheel, and it was a case of getting me out. So I left the group, and I fell out with Eddie, whereby he then threatened me to bury me upside down, and he also threatened Gordon and Team Pandora's. He threatened us with DFLA, etc. And actually, the following morning, he was on the phone to Gordon really early in the morning. I was on my way home from school, and Gordon rang me. Anyway, things progressed from there.
Can I ask you what you actually fell out over? Was it personal, or can you put it out?
What we fell out over was it's quite bizarre. It was actually over a comment about whinging Ninny.
Right.
And it was to do with when Eddie went to Southwark Crown Court when the Sabine McNeil case was on.
Right.
And he was in the group at the time, and he was saying things like whinging Ninny. Now, this had come from someone within Hoaxstead, and it was something to do with a nickname for somebody else. And I asked how he knew, and he wouldn't tell me.
Right.
I found a bit strange. I thought, well, hang on a minute. that's a bit too close for comfort.
So
me,
you fell out over really the Hampstead, should we say that then? You fell out over that.
It was something, yeah, it was
Okay.
something silly. The thing is, Danny, I'll say the same. You know, I'll let everybody know my position. The Hampstead case, I wasn't there. I wouldn't have wanted to be there. I don't know if anything happened, did or didn't. What I truly believe is those children deserve anonymity, whether this, you know, somebody from Cardiff, somebody from London, they all deserve the same anonymity. So to keep putting their faces out in the videos, I think is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, well
and
said.
quite disturbing. And I don't agree with that. I do believe that if those children, as when they're old enough, want to speak out about whatever part of their childhood, that should be entirely up to them. But people should remember at the end of the day, still their mum and dad.
Okay, cool. So you fell out with Eddie. Move on from that then. You carried on.
So I fell out with Eddie, and basically he then started a barrage of messages and threats and so forth, as I said, and he actually then threatened Gordon, and he actually phoned somebody else, and he was all over the shop. He was just all over the shop. Well, from that point, things went quiet until a little bit later on in mid-December, when people were saying that they were sending information to Pandora's box that I wasn't allowing into the group. The information was again regarding, I believe, the H case, and it's not something that Gordon wanted to do. He was an expert on mining companies, you know, and that's where he wanted to direct his expertise. Everything else to him was a distraction.
Yeah.
So, Andy, I did message Andy at the beginning of December and say to Andy, I did ask him to make contact with me, and I had absolutely no contact from him whatsoever. So things then sort of took a turn, and we ceased contact. Andy then attempted to, in the background, can't say groom Gordon, but manipulate situations where Gordon removed me as a director. Now, what Andy wasn't aware of was that there were things and research going on in the background into the things that Andy was pushing. He always said when he came forward that he'd taken the two biggest things on the internet, which was A, Gordon Bowden, Finchley Road, and B, JOHN WANOA, and he wanted to help them. But that's not what I was seeing. You know, there was a video that JOHN WANOA put out, which you can add the link to here, saying he wanted Gordon to become or to get on board with him, and that was actually in 2014. Now, I questioned Gordon about this. Gordon didn't even know JOHN WANOA at the time, so you know, how can he possibly, you know, how can he possibly? At that point, it made me think that Andy had actually been put in place to create a joinder with Gordon, you know. It was a little bit bizarre. So let me go on to say, now I want to give thanks to the people that are helping to push Gordon's work. What Gordon done relentlessly for 18 years was give everybody in the UK the opportunity to see what's going on and how our country's being asset stripped. It doesn't affect just one or two of us. It affects everybody purely because of the money that's going out through these boiler room Ponzi scams. You know, even down to the fact that pensions have been cut so much. We are in a mess, and if only we could get this there and get the people behind it, then I'm sure they would see and things would change. So let me progress into where I believe JOHN WANOA came in. This is actually an email that Gordon sent, and I'm going to use his words and show the company house documents as I go through, and then people hopefully will have a bit of clarity. Again, I want to say thanks to Rick for putting the Gordon video out, the videos he's put out. I know he had a few conversations with Gordon, but unless people can see the physical, you know, something tangible, then it's easier for them to follow than trying to pick up the words as somebody speaking. So what I'm going to do is fill in the gaps, okay? The concerns here were that initially Andy tried to discredit Gordon, and we had the threats of bounty order kidnapped, dead or alive, which, well, it certainly wasn't it certainly didn't go down very well. It was violent, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, let me progress. So we have got JOHN WANOA, who suggests he's a surrogate king, and he has some companies. Now, the company he initially set up was called Moai Powerhouse Group Limited, and Moai Powerhouse Group Limited is this company here, and this is the company information. And then if you turn over, it again shows you the documents and the directors' details, etc. Okay, that was the first company that was set up. Now that company was set up from BOLNEY Road in Brighton, and the directors were Mr. Matt Taylor, MATT, executive founding JOHN WANOA as director, and Ms. Susan Jane Young. Okay. Now, under the Companies Act 2006, it does state that each individual director has to be an actual person, so one name, one body, and you can't use variations of your name to register as director, and that's exactly what they had attempted to do in this case. Okay. Now, the company was incorporated for Moai Powerhouse Group Limited, company reference number 103-29010. It was incorporated and dissolved, and it was incorporated from an address of Unit 21, Squires Way, Dover in Kent. It was listed to have executive founding JOHN WANOA, Ms. Susan Jane Young, and Matt Taylor, as I said. Failing that delisted company, they then produced another company called Moai Powerhouse Group Limited, which is reference number 113-06795. From here, that's this document here, okay, which is all available on Companies House or Company Chat or Director Chat, whichever platform you choose to use. Got more information there. And then you've got your directors again there. And as you'll see, there's variations to the spelling of the name. So there's no possibility that Matt Taylor, Matthew with one T Taylor, and Matthew with two T Taylors are three persons, because we categorically know that there's one Matt Taylor. Okay. Now, following this, you'll also see that the Moai Powerhouse Group 1130675 was registered out of Berkeley House, Wells Street, Hackney, London. Okay. It's understood that this is a highly suspected method of organised crime, money laundering. Okay. The listed directors, using other variations of their names, again, as we've stated, JOHN WANOA, director ID is 9245-22965, stated there. And it also shows the director IDs of Matthew Taylor. It is evident, as I've shown you, that there are three variations of the names, which is a criminal offence when registering as a director. And then upon our further research, we discovered then that there was a complex history to Mr. Lee Kant, who actually operated using full director IDs. Okay. One of the addresses that Mr. Kant uses was 14A Ash Grove, as well as 7 Berkeley House, Wells Street, Hackney, London. Just a ground floor flat, basically, in a multi-storey block, where Lee Kant fronted 330 companies, mostly all dissolved, which do follow the pattern of an organised crime syndicate. Therefore, it was reported to the police and such. We understood at the time that this resulted in the addresses of Mr. Taylor, Mr. Patson, and Mr. Kant being visited by the police. What we're further aware of is that Mr. Kant was recorded as being a director of a company called Bricks Limited. And Rex Limited, which I've got here, company reference number 03222231. Here. You can see that information. It actually shows the directors, and it actually shows Mr. Lee Counts down here somewhere. Okay. Now that company was launched out of Ash Grove. Okay. And also launched out of Ash Grove was another company called Sutherland Motors. Now Sutherland Motors, sorry about this, Sutherland Motors has joint directors who are temple secretaries and company directors. For those that aren't familiar, both of those companies leading to 788, 790 Finchley Road, which is part of the conduit addresses that Gordon has named many times over in his exposés. So, Lee Count with John Wanoa fronting businesses out of Finchley Road, it kind of makes a mockery of what Andy Devine was trying to assist us in exposing in 788 Finchley Road. You know, you then have to get the other people who are connected to Andy Devine and John Wanoa. Just pop that down there, to Andy Devine and John Wanoa. We can look at people such as, for instance, we've got Matt Taylor, we've got Murray Powerhouse. Let's have a look at Nilu. Let's just have a little look here, because this is something I only recently discovered. This is Nilu. I've never had an interaction with Nilu as such. If you put in Nilu Chowdhury in Google, this is what you come up with. It's just a basic search. It says that she's Nilu Chowdhury and she's Lotus Princess for you. And then you put in a search into Facebook and you come up with this, which says Bed Chowdhury, and you'll see there's a proportion of names at the bottom. Now, I've had a little look at Bed Chowdhury, but I've actually had a look on Company's House, and what I discovered was that she has a directorship with a company called Social Action for Health. Now, Social Action for Health is a company registered in Hackney, London again, and there are 6 directors of that company. And one of the directors of that company is somebody called Andrew William Turner. Okay, just for your reference, the company reference number is 02954744. And Andrew William Turner is the director of, there he is at the top, Social Action for Health at the bottom. Okay, what you'll also notice or see is there are, out of those companies, a company called Greenbelt Festivals Limited. Now, Greenbelt Festivals Limited here, if you have a look at the interlinked directors, you will see that there's an interlinked director called this gentleman here, Martin Rowe. And when you have a look at Martin Rowe and his companies, you will see that there's a company called Indigo Notes Limited. Indigo Notes Limited has 5 officers with 2 resignations. Okay, this is the Company's House or company check document from Indigo Notes. Where are we? There, states there, and they're the officers. Okay, now if you look at the information here, you will see something interesting again. Look, temple secretaries and company directors. Just have a little look at the address. Finchley Road. So, a bit confused as to why Nilu is connected to Finchley Road and obviously sort of wrapped around Andy. I mean, you know, we've talked about JOHN WANOA, we've talked about Matt Taylor, we've talked about Nilu Berry, we've talked about Lee Kant, Edward Ellis. I'd also like to point out that Edward Ellis also has a connection to Finchley Road. He's connected via London Law Secretarial, which is on my laptop and I haven't printed off. Which I haven't printed off, but the information we can add to a link perhaps later. The interesting thing here is now, you know, having had conversations over the past couple of weeks with various people, I'm really aware that this company is showing us 0 accounts at Company's House. It's not showing us there's been any money in shares or any sales or money deposited or money in and out of the account. So where has this money gone? Now, one of the people, or a couple of people actually, have made me aware that there's been 2 deposits of at least £1,000 from 2 people, and for 2 or more years there have been shares that were sold that shouldn't have been sold and weren't sold transparently. It was sold by way of scamming people, because you know you can't sell something on a company that's not built on a solid foundation, and it's clear to see that this isn't built on a solid foundation under the Companies Act 2006 due to the directors. So you know that makes the company like an iceberg. You know, it's not going to thrive. Now, what's interesting here is where has all that money gone, and where are the accounts, and who is holding the accounts? You know, it's not only that. What about the fact that you know all the flag sales, not only the shares, where's all that money gone as well? Now, somebody is responsible, and whoever has been involved with regards to the finances or the general secretarial duties should have kept a record of this for transparency purposes. And having done a little mooch around on the internet again, looking at some of JOHN WANOA's Facebooks, you'll see he clearly says that his secretary is KAHAKI now. Now, Katie, I have had some messages to and from, and she sounds like she sounded like a very level-headed person to me, and I sent her the information across confirming why the Moai powerhouse was a scam, explaining that you have to be a natural person. Like I also said, you know, it's a natural person is one name, one person with regard to Matthew, and so forth, and tried to explain this to Kaylee. I thought I got there. Unfortunately, however, not the case due to the expose that she did suggesting that I hadn't sent the evidence across. Well, I certainly did. But I'm even more a bit confused about this now, because Kaylee accepts the Human Rights Act, like, you know, we all accept the Human Rights Act. And this isn't just singling Kaylee out. She also accepts the Social Security Act. She's a single mum, as she quite rightly stated, as myself. But the bit that confuses me is this. Kaylee would have looked at the Companies Act when she took a directorship of a company herself, which lasted for all of, from the 12th of the 2nd, 2016 was the appointment date. Oh, actually, sorry, the appointment date was the 5th of December 2015, and the date of termination was the 15th of July 2016. So Kaylee was a director for a term of 7 months. So surely during those 7 months, she would have looked at the Companies Act and realised the information that I'd sent her was correct, having been a company director herself. So at the end of the day, these are the reasons the Moai powerhouse is a scam. I don't understand why all these people who are connected are surrounding anti-divine. However, so I really hope that this draws some light on things for people, and you know, they're welcome to ask any questions that they want. If they want to inbox me, they're more than welcome to, and I'll assist as much as I can. But the idea is to put this out there because Gordon's information is going out in dribs and drabs, and there's absolutely nobody that's putting the company information out there to back it up. And really, that's what it needs, is you need to see the forensic evidence to substantiate the message that's being said and put out there. So there we are. This is where we're at. I still stand by the fact that Moai Powerhouse is a scam, and they are scammers. I have other concerns about some of the people surrounding these Moai Powerhouse people. You know, there's a couple of names that have been put forward as being potential sexual predators. And then you've got obviously the interlocks to the man that lives in Morocco and various others, you know, the Jordan. There's a couple of others that I won't name because I haven't found the evidence to substantiate that yet. But what I am aware of is that Eddie took a very innocent photograph of my daughter off Facebook and tried to sexualize that also. Now, these are people that purport to protect children, yet you've got the likes of Lee Kant, who actually recorded a video of his local park opposite, and there were children playing in there. Well, I'm really sorry. I really don't think that's morally correct, personally. You know, is there another alternative? Is there another reason for these things? I don't know. Just to finalise things a little bit, and having looked at JOHN WANOA's Facebook in depth, one thing that really stuck out to me, which let me just, I think I took a screenshot of it, which really stuck out to me, which kind of made me go, oh, was in a statement he put on his Facebook. He says that I will get full disclosure from the court for my own case against New Zealand police by my own Moai Crown Federal State King William IV Admiralty Court Martial Law Jurisdiction and 8-point star New World Order private contract. So I'll just let you digest that and make of that what you will. But the crux of the matter are here, there's a lot of money being paid in to a company that's not built on a foundation of any good standing, that has no funding, no accounts of being supplied, but basically has been set up on the basis of this, which is nothing more than a modus operandi of people who want to extract money from vulnerable people who are aimlessly following in the hope that there's something good going to come of it. And unfortunately, what's happening is people are having their utility bills and telephone bills paid, from what I understand, from what I've learned from third parties, from the money that's been given as the pot. So I would like for somebody, if possible, to come forward with some transparency if they're not guilty, and provide the evidence or provide the books of where this money's gone. And that person, I do believe, is Kaylee Ina, or Kaylee Freeman, or Kaylee Clark, whichever it is that JOHN WANOA has named in his screenshot of his post from Facebook as being his private secretary, and Kaylee's own admission that she was looking after a business that never really took off. Well, if it didn't really take off, where's the money gone? Who's got the money? And where are the records for it? Which again, I'll just confirm by showing that there. I think you'll probably see where it states effectively. So, who's going to be left holding the baby? Is it going to be Kayleigh, or is it going to be Andy Devine? Any questions? Would you like to ask anything?
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Also on that bit of paper, there was a Jamie. Can you put that paper back up again, where it says this private secretaries? Jamie, someone, Jamie Patrick, was it or something? James Patrick or something. What's his name?
James Patrick from New Zealand.
Is that the name? Is it? Just underneath Kayleigh.
Jamie Patrick.
Yeah, him and obviously Matt Taylor is all underneath that.
It says yes. There.
So so as you say, you don't want to single Kayleigh out. So it's all three really needs to be brought to justice. Brought to accountability really, not just Kayleigh. I understand that. Yeah, all three need to be brought.
I'm really not wanting to single Kayleigh out, but because I understood Kayleigh was the person that was in charge of the finances as such, then I thought perhaps she can provide the records. If she can't provide the records, then perhaps she can ask Mr. Devine to provide her with the records so that she can provide them to other people, you know, because I don't see, you know, at the end of the day, there should be a record kept of every share besides the donations. And again, you know, there's been I'm aware of two separate donations of £1,000 each. And then how many shares have they sold in the last 2 years at £25? Who knows?
Now, a lot of people are going to be watching this, Joe, right, and going to be saying to you, I know they are going to go, you cheeky fucker, you've had 20 grand, blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest, the 20 grand has been accountable for. It's been a court audited. It's in the accounts. It's all done legally. You know what I mean? So there's the difference. Yeah. There's the difference in that.
Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. I mean, the thing is, if we were, you know, if that 20 grand went into the account, you know, we weren't transparent, it wouldn't show on the company's house records.
Exactly. If it bought Gordon's Jaguar, which was many, many times brought up, right, when we had the Jag well before Andy gave him any money at all, but let's just say he bought the Jag with it, it would show on the company accounts, and it doesn't show that at all. So it's a lot of bollocks, basically.
It was a donation,
exactly.
And that's where I stand. But the thing is, that's for something for us all to deal with.
That's between I don't know, Gordon and Pandora's Box and Andy Devine. No one else needs to be involved in that.
The thing is, bless him, Gordon is no longer here, you know, so it kind of makes it a bit more difficult. We know what was discussed. We know it was a donation, and that's as far as it goes. And
we also know where the money's gone as well. That's the main bit. The main point to all this is we know where the money's gone. That's the main point.
The money is the money that's gone into our account has been more than accounted for, and we've spent more than 20 grand on equipment. So, you know, it's just yeah. And I can't say any more than that because obviously, you know,
we don't need to say any more. Let's just stick to basics. Let's stick to basics. The Pandora's Box accounts all seem to be audited and legit and up there for transparency to see. And the Moai, whatever it's called, tidal parashite, isn't. So you can't compare the two. You can't even compare it.
May I also interject as well there, Joe? With John Wanoa's business, I know so-called it dissolved after a certain period of time, but there is still at least one complete year where there should have been some accounts submitted.
And the thing is, this is another thing you see, this is a massive loophole, that when a company becomes dissolved, Companies House assume that they dissolve the company, and they automatically assume that people close that bank account down. And generally, 9 times out of 10, when you find that there's money laundering has gone on in a modus operandi such as this, they've still been paying money into the bank account of a company that no longer exists.
Yeah, which is probably what's happening now. Yeah,
found that on several occasions. Yeah, and there's no bodies to find out, you know, if those bank accounts are still in operation, or, you know, this was one of the things I found with my own case, that there was money being paid into an account 3 months after the business had closed, which is it's money laundering and fraud. It doesn't matter how you dress it.
You know what? I look at this, Joe. The reason the fraud squad don't get involved with people like John Wanoa and dickheads like that is because it's small fry, as they call it in the business, right? There's a lot more. There's multi-millionaires getting away with it, so they're going to attack them and get the tax back that way. You know what I mean? And also, when it comes down to it, it's like, well, it's like people won't complain either, because if you pay £25 to a tidal energy scare or scheme or some shit, and about a year later you realise all you've got is an email, you've got no dividends, you've got nothing off it. Shit, I've been scammed. It's a bit embarrassing to say to people, you know what, I was scammed on the internet because I clicked a stupid donate button and give 25 quid away. Because most people go, "Are you a fucking dickhead then, aren't you?" It's simple as that, you know.
But the thing is, it wasn't a case of clicking a donate button and giving 25 quid away. It was going into PayPal accounts.
Oh yeah, yeah. But either way, it's still a donate to them. It's still a donation to them, isn't it? Who gives the money away, and it's embarrassing
And
for that person
also-
then to try and claim it back.
And also, every penny of that should be accountable somewhere.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
It should be registered somewhere with the names of the people that have donated that money for the shares and where that money has gone.
That's right. It will be in PayPal. There'll be a PayPal account somewhere which got all them records. There'll be like a private JOHN WANOA account or whatever it is, business. When you click donate and you actually buy these things, your money goes somewhere. And when it goes into that account, that bank, wherever it will be, will have a registry of what money, who's paid what and when. They'll definitely have it.
They have to keep the records for 7 years. I think it's 7. It might have changed to 6 years.
But why they won't do it, the only reason, you know as well as I do, Joe, the only reason they'll never ever show you a complete like statement of the bank account, if you like, ever, and show it on the screen is because you'll see withdrawals. You think, what are you drawing the money out for? Hang on, you paid at a shop $86 for food. What's that got to do with donations? You paid you pay your gas bill, you bought a car. What the fuck? All these things you'll see coming out. And you'll think, well, hang on a minute. So it'll expose the fraud behind it.
It's just feathering somebody else's nest, really. And the thing is, and the other thing is, what's really concerning at the moment is, I've been made aware of, is, oh, excuse me, there's another project, recent project that's now coming off, and they're charging, or they're asking £100 a share, and this was running from the 30th of April 2020 to the 30th of April 2023.
Yeah, steam generator, I think it is, I believe. A steam generator. Just think about that for a minute. Like we've never heard of this before, a steam generator. I mean, I've never ever boiled a kettle before in my life. I don't know how steam generation works. I don't know how that works, mate.
But also, is there a separate bank account set up for this?
Probably, but it's that new though, Sue. It's that new, that is, at the moment. I'm looking, I can't find nothing on it at the moment in Company House.
For me, I haven't really
It's
looked
that
into
new,
it yet.
yeah.
I'm trying to look into the other stuff, you know. I gotta be honest, I mean, you know, Gordon, God bless him, and God rest his soul. You know, he was my hero. He was like a dad to me. You know, he was a good guy. He genuinely was a good guy. He never asked anybody for any money. He'd help anybody that rang him up. I mean, you rang him up, Danny, and had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Rick rang him up and had a conversation with him. They came to Elveston Castle when we done the expose at Elveston Castle. You know, he had the time for anybody and everybody because that was the man he was. He was a genuine man, 100%. There's no, you know, there's no question. He had credibility. You know, he really was a genuine chap, and he forego 18 years of his life to put this blueprint in place to help everybody else.
And it now seems to be getting discredited with stupid scammers and fraudsters, basically.
So so the question remains: where does Andy Devine fit in all this then? Was he put in place? You know, considering that video from 2014, or did he buy his way into it, or was he being funded to fund Gordon? You know, to again discredit him. You know, was it common purpose? I believe so. I believe it was all a setup, and I think this is why things became so nasty and vitriolic towards me, and not just towards me, but towards my close family members as well, and some of my friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
Gordon said to me in the conversation, and you probably know yourself, there's Andy Devine, John WANOA, and people like that. They're small fry. There's a lot bigger people that are scamming a lot more bigger money on the internet. You know, Belinda McKenzie and all these people. You know, with Neelu's and you name it. As you just named a few, like Lee Kant and it's the one Edward Ellis, and all these people are all involved. And there's a lot of people above that running these people.
But the thing is, the other thing that makes me wonder is Neelu is a pharmacist, yet she struck off. Edward is a solicitor, but he struck off.
Yeah, you'll find most are. Yeah.
You know, I've got question marks about a couple of other people as well, which I've sort of looked into and delving into, but I won't go there at the minute. But there's lots of questions I've got over various things, you know, including John Patterson. John Patterson's in prison, and he should never be there. He really should. He should. When I say he should never be there, until he got dragged into the satanic side of things, John Patterson was doing really quite well with what he was learning. John Patterson thinks he knows about Finchley Road. John Patterson doesn't know the icing off the top of the cake with regards to Finchley Road.
Yeah.
You know, and Gordon would admit that himself. He really doesn't. You know, he might know some of it, but he doesn't know all of it. I don't think Gordon, even in the 4 years or 5 years that we were having our chats and everything, you know, all of us as a group, I don't think I learned everything. I think there's still more to learn, and every day I look, you know, I find more, and it's shocking. The size of what Gordon's got is absolutely shocking. If Finchley Road falls, that is the whole house of cards. It's going to tumble. It'll take all the conduit addresses, and it'll go into St James. Everybody's a win-win, aren't they? You know?
Well, you put the record straight, Joe. You've definitely put the record straight on a few things there.
But I've tried to put it straight and try to show my evidence and print it off and, you know, put it in order so it's understandable. So if people want to go look, there's the company references, there's the director references. You've only got to go onto company check, director check, company check, and company's house. You can cross-reference too. It's not rocket
The
science.
big question is, where has the money gone?
That's the question we'll leave it. I think that's the question we should end it on. Where has the money gone?
Somebody please give us the answer. Where has the money gone?
Do I leave the comments? Do I leave the comments section open for you, Joe, on this video?
You can leave the comments section
Okay.
open by all means.